if you're consuming food that might have a health risk, don't you have a right to know that?
Absolutely.
You don't tell people, well,
Absolutely.
Hey, sorry about that. We're adding these chemicals to the soft drink, and it looks like it's probably going to blow your liver out in 10 years. But don't tell them because it tastes good and we make a lot of money. It's immoral. Mm-hmm. It's just immoral. And sadly to say, Sean, that's the world we live in, where large corporations have a very low give a shit factor. Yeah. And you know what? Sorry you fell. Have a nice day. And, just one less old person on Social Security. That's how they see it. And you know what? That shit's got to stop. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Safety News. It's Russ Kensior and Sean Joseph, looking very dapper.
Thank you, Russ.
We have been off the air for several weeks, primarily because my co-host here was living La Vida Loca in Brazil. Why don't you tell folks what you've been doing?
I was really good to be back with you, Russ, and everyone in the community. I was in Brazil for the last month plus. I was on a beach town called Floripa, so I got a little bit more of a tan, played a little soccer, had some good food. Glad to be back.
Let's talk about the haircut.
Yeah. So I think I went there probably 3 weeks overdue. I was working at a gym, saw a barber right next door, hooked me up. I could not understand what he was saying, and he couldn't either my way, but...
So he just did what the hell he wanted with that hair of yours.
Yeah, I showed him a picture, and he actually, at the time, it got pretty close. It's grown out now, but super thoughtful people. But yeah, we absolutely had no idea what each other was saying.
Wow. Well, we had a lot of news take place between your departure and today, and we have one big news item that we want to share with the audience today, and that is regarding our entirely new name.
Boom.
Remember when
yeah, baby.
You always loved this, didn't you?
I did.
Safety News. Safety in the News. We went ahead, Sean, and made a big change while you were gone. I kind of feel like I'm your parent saying, well, Sean, since you've been gone, we've moved your stuff out of the room and it's now Mom's yoga room.
Like, no, I love that name.
So you've had your furniture moved. It's a great name. But what we've done is gone ahead and changed the name of the network from Safety News to World Safety News.
Boom.
And so the image of the world, the planet spinning around, and we are an international organization. What our number 2 largest audience is in Europe. Mm-hmm. And so we've got in India. So we've got a big audience, and we're going to be speaking to all of you around the world about safety in your country, not just in the United States. And so the new name of the show, Sean, is World Safety News. Okay?
Is it Safety News?
You're making that face, yeah.
Wait, yeah. It's World Safety News or
World
Safety World News?
World Safety News.
It is?
Safety World News. Make up whatever one you want.
Okay, yeah, right on.
It's so you're going to see that change quickly.
Cheers.
Starting today, as a matter of fact.
There you go.
But with that, let's talk about what's going on in the news. You probably saw this story. President Biden's mysterious new shoes provide maximum stability, says report. You seen the story about Biden's shoes?
I have seen headlines about the shoes, but I don't know too much about what's going on.
So you don't, well, of course you've been in Brazil.
Right.
All right, so you don't know what's going on. You know what's going on in Brazil, right? Anyhow, Biden's new shoes are designed for comfort while walking and hiking. Now, the first thing that kind of jumped out at me, and this is Fox News from last week, March 17th, but the first thing that kind of jumped out at me is hiking. I don't recall our president being a hiker.
Yeah.
I mean, hiking. Most of the time I see him kind of shuffling, on various surfaces.
Do the shuffle.
But he's now going to be toting some new shoes. And as it comes out to be, President Biden's newest shoes have opened up renewed debate about his health and physical condition, with some speculating that they were designed to prevent the president from falling. Quote, Biden's handlers.
Whoa.
By the way, Sean, I got to ask you, do you have a handler?
No. As soon as he said it, I was like, what?
What's a handler? Biden's handlers.
It's pretty intense.
Is that his wife? I guess that's my handler, right? So Biden's handlers are forcing him.
Jeez.
Forcing him. Okay, they got him in a headlock, and they're putting some new shoes on his feet. I mean, there he is. He's he's a little pissed, but
Joe.
his handlers are forcing him to wear a new pair of lifestyle sneakers because he trips so much. End quote. Reads a tweet from RNC Research on Saturday, referring to Biden's new shoes. While observers have likened the shoes to quote boat anchors. End quote. Again, not certain what they mean by boat anchors. But the rumor is he's wearing new shoes because he's prone to slipping and tripping. And so these boat anchors or piers, according to Inside Edition report, attached to the tweet, revealed that the president's new shoes are actually lifestyle sneakers that are made by the shoe brand HOKA. Are you familiar with HOKA?
I'm not.
You know anything about HOKA?
Until
it's
now.
a pretty big brand. A lot of people wear them. They're a very popular type of shoe. Okay. But our president is now toting HOKAs. The Inside Edition report notes that the shoes are designed for maximum comfort and support while walking or hiking. Again, hiking. Where is he? Where the heck is our president hiking? I've not seen him hiking. I've seen him kind of sort of riding a bike.
The plot continues.
He fell off of the bike with his helmet. Thank God he had a helmet on. I see him eating a lot of ice cream. I see him smelling young children's hair a lot. I see him shuffling a lot. No disrespect. He's an older gentleman, so that's going to happen. The report notes that President Biden does have a history of stumbling, but that the shoe is quite comfortable and feels like he's walking on air.
Whoa.
Walking on air. The shoe bears the seal of approval from the American Podiatric Association for being beneficial to foot health. Now, let me ask you, Sean, what does that mean to you? This shoe is beneficial to your foot's or feet health. What does that mean? Foot health. Like bunions, corns? What does that mean?
Well, as I read that and put it in context, I start with thinking about the wear and tear that just comes from walking and doing exercise. So, yeah, the surface of your feet, fungal infections that could happen if, the quality of the material isn't proper. And then I would say some level of the material used to be able to handle all terrain that you may encounter. So I think it's a combination of like your stature, your posture, things that could happen to your skin itself, as well as material of the shoe to protect you.
Can we agree that the term beneficial to a person's foot health is subjective?
Absolutely.
Not certain what that means. It could mean anything.
Yeah.
It could mean fungal. It could be bone. It could be calluses. It could be arch. Right? So the American Podiatric Association is saying that these shoes are beneficial to the president's foot health, noting Biden's physical. I don't know if you know this, but President Biden, when you were not here, but President Biden had a physical exam.
In the last,
just a few weeks ago. And so he had a physical exam. And one of the things the physical exam revealed was that he suffers from sensory peripheral neuropathy in his feet. Now, you know what that is, right?
I don't.
You don't?
Well, I read the words and I have an idea, but I don't actually know what that means.
Okay. Neuropathy is where the nerves in your toes, and for some people, I think fingers, become infected.
Oh, okay.
You lose sensory. You can't feel certain things with your toes. Say infected, I think that's probably not the right way to describe it, but you lose the ability to feel.
Oh, geez.
With your toes.
Yeah.
They become like numb. Yeah. Some people, neuropathy is painful. If you just touch their toes, they hurt. And so it's a degenerative disease that affects older people. And so our president has neuropathy, and that's not unusual. I mean, especially a man of his age. So he's got neuropathy. Peripheral neuropathy refers to damage to the nerves, said Dr. Gabriel Laurenti, the podiatrist, and interviewed for the report. And Gabriel Laurenti, is that a woman? I want to be gender specific here. Is that a man or a woman?
You know what? I'm not sure.
Help me out here. I mean, you're the Gen X guy.
It could be Gabriel. It could also be Gabrielle.
Okay. It's like Pat, Chris.
Yeah.
Terry.
Yes.
I don't want to be,
I'll tell you what, though. I will look it up. I'm going to get back to you on that one. But if I had to guess, actually, I don't know at all. But if I had to guess, I think.
Is it Gabe or Gabe or Gabby?
You know what?
Is it Gabe?
Gabriel. I think this is, I would guess it's a man, but that's a guess.
Okay. Well, I don't want to offend Dr. Gabriel Laurenti, but I'm going to call you a him. Yeah. Whether it's from trauma or a disease, there's some kind of damage to the nerve. So the president has nerve damage in his toes. Okay, no big deal. A lot of folks have that. Biden has had multiple public stumbles, falls, and near misses as president. The most recent example coming while he climbed the stairs to board Air Force One last month. Now, we've seen that, right? Yeah. I mean, we've showed the video, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And not to humiliate the man, but he falls a lot. And a lot of older people fall a lot.
Yeah.
And so he did catch himself as he was climbing. The stumble came after a number of near misses on Air Force One. And the story kind of goes on. They talk about the New York Times report from February that the Secret Service now positions an agent. I did not know this, Sean, but the Secret Service, his personal security detail, actually posts an agent at the bottom of the stairs when Biden disembarks from the plane. Now, I assume that's for security. I mean, I can't imagine that if Biden fell down the stairs from Air Force One, that the agent's going to catch him. I mean, that's unlikely. But I guess it makes it kind of look like they are. Here's the shoes. Check them out. Look at him. Look how dapper our president looks, huh?
There we go.
Joe Biden's sneaker style Vira HOKA Transport shoes, Skechers Slip-Ins, and more. So he's had quite a history of different types of footwear. But here's the new shoes, Sean. Check it out, huh?
There you go.
Stylish, fashionable.
Got that all black.
Look at him go. Those are the Skechers.
Cool.
Those are allegedly the shoes that were problematic for him, and they no longer allow him. His handlers.
You know what?
His handlers will not let him wear Skechers.
That might be the first time I've seen handlers used. Like, I have no idea if that's a good or bad thing. It's very intense. And those shoes, listen, you can dress them up. You can dress them down. Yeah, Joe looks like he's having a fun time in those.
Joe is on the move. He's wearing Skechers in this photograph. These are the Slip-Ins. You see him advertised on television where, Tony Romo, whatever. There's no T in Skechers. Remember, Mr. T comes out of the wall. But he used to wear Skechers, and they don't want him wearing Skechers because apparently they felt they were contributing. His handlers thought they were contributing to his trips and falls. So he was wearing $90 Skechers, no moss. The insole was, foamy heel insole. Okay, we know they're comfortable. This is it, Sean. He went from $90 Skechers to $175 HOKA Transport. What do you think of that? Pretty fashionable?
I personally don't love that style. It's not my style, but it may work for some people. It's a little clunky to me.
Well, he's an older man. What do you expect he's going to wear? I mean, he needs comfortable shoes. I'm not certain the hiking.
Yeah.
He's hiking. Where's he hiking?
That's a very fair question. I mean, we've got concerns, legitimate ones, not poking fun, but, the handling of steps onto a plane is probably not as difficult as...
Yeah, if you're walking up the steps of Air Force One, you're at the Academy at West Point or Air Force Academy, wherever he tripped. That's not hiking. And you don't need a hiking shoe. That's more of a street shoe. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, they got him in hiking shoes. So there it is, the HOKA shoe. And I thought that...
pretty pricey shoes.
It's a pretty pricey shoe, but I thought, what, he's, as you know, I'm very much involved in this industry of slips, trips, and falls, especially for the elderly. We have a petition in front of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. We talked about this, I guess, a few episodes ago. And it's just a reminder, everybody's invited to submit public comments. One of the areas that we're focused on is really demanding through the Consumer Product Safety Commission that manufacturers of shoes test the slip resistance of their soles and label them. And there's 3 traction ranges: high traction, moderate traction, low traction. Mm-hmm. High traction is like a work shoe. You can walk on oil or grease like at a fast food chain, and it provides maximum performance. Moderate traction is kind of like a street shoe, and low traction, well, that's a slippery shoe. That's a shoe that would be very, very slippery under different any real type of conditions for that matter. And so I thought, you know what, let's buy a pair of the shoes and test them. Looky there. So that is the HOKA Transport shoe, and I got to.
Oh,
look at that.
HOKA.
Got the HOKA Transport.
Cool.
There it is.
Nice.
Check out the sole. What do you notice about the sole?
There's a lot of rubber grooves. It seems like the traction would be decent on that.
What does this sole tell you?
Well, also the sole is curved.
Well, the shoe has got a toe spring, which makes it better for tripping, preventing tripping, because the shoe is not flat. It's got a little roundness or curvature, and that's good. As you're walking, you're not going to catch the toe of your shoe.
Right.
It also has on the reverse side a beveled heel. That also is good.
That's the word I was looking for. Beveled.
It's a beveled heel. So that's a good design. It's a comfortable shoe. But what does the tread pattern say to you, Sean Joseph?
Tire. That's what it says. Well,
what does it say?
Oh, what does it actually say?
No, what does it say? It's a big tread.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So shoes that have big treads generally don't provide a lot of slip resistance on flat, smooth surfaces. This is a shoe designed for walking on dirt. On a trail. This is a trail shoe. See the big tread?
Yeah.
You kind of were right with a tire. So if you look at this tread pattern, that's a pattern that's designed for walking on soil or dirt.
Sure.
Okay? Nothing wrong with that, but this is not designed for walking up and down stairs on Air Force One. Just a tread pattern. So there it is. There's the shoe. We put it on the whole shoe tester. This, of course, is the NFSI B101.7 standard that we're calling for the federal government to mandate that manufacturers of shoes use this. It's very sophisticated. I don't have to tell you, a very sophisticated piece of equipment.
Absolutely.
Robotic. And you measure the coefficient of friction, the slip resistance. In this case, we measured the slip resistance of the HOKA Transport on a smooth, tiled floor, kind of like what you'd find in the White House.
Yep.
Not the kind of floor you're going to find on a trail, but the kind of floor you're going to find on Air Force One, assuming it's not carpeting. So there it is. And if you were to take a guess, how well do you think this shoe rated? What do you think the performance is? High, moderate, or low traction when tested?
I'm going with moderate.
Why are you going to go with moderate?
Well, initially I was thinking that it's built for performance, not necessarily style.
Oh, by the way.
Is moderate?
Yeah, you get the moderate. Yeah, you get
okay. I was on a little bit of a cold streak a couple episodes ago.
You got it. You nailed it. It is a moderate traction soled shoe. Okay. You, of course, guessed.
Absolutely guessed.
So that's okay. But here's the problem. Nothing wrong with moderate traction. It's the same damn level of traction his previous shoes had. So his handlers are thinking, we're going to address the problem of Joe Biden falling, tripping, slipping, by changing out his shoes. What they didn't realize is the level of performance of slip resistance of his shoes are pretty much the same as they were before. In other words, no change. You made a change to prevent falls, but the change that you made, and it's not his fault, because there's no requirement that manufacturers, do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, manufacturers do not have to do anything about testing and labeling their shoes. So therein lies the problem, and herein lies the data. There it is. Ooh. So here is the output data of Joe Biden's HOKA Transports. Moderate traction. You see the three numbers on the left, 0.256, 0.265, 0.258, pretty tight cluster of data. Okay. What that basically says is this shoe, when worn on a clean, dry surface, is fine. But do not wear this shoe on a wet surface.
Wow.
Because if you're on a wet surface, the large pattern reduces the surface area. And I'll show you again.
Yeah.
Imagine the entire surface area of the whole shoe. Okay? Well, look at how much is touching the ground.
Yeah.
Maybe half?
Yeah. That makes
so you reduce the traction just because most of the shoe or half of the shoe sole isn't even touching the floor.
And those are
the only part
grooves.
that is this kind of tread pattern.
Yeah.
So you've reduced the traction opportunity because you have this lug sole. So as the president's handlers, and in all due respect, are trying to help him, they've done nothing. And the problem isn't their fault. The problem is the manufacturers of shoes don't tell you how slippery the shoes are. So if they wanted to prevent the president from slipping and falling, they needed to have a high traction sole, higher traction sole. But how do you find those? So they made their decision on price, comfort, right, style. And, they assume that the sole, being this real aggressive pattern, is going to provide a higher level of traction.
But it, in fact, is not, according to actual tests. And this is pretty fascinating because this kind of connects dots on a previous episode. You remember we were talking about, floor safety, cleaning products, being able to measure basically how safe the floor is and the work that NFSI does to understand that.
Right.
This is really interesting, right? Because this isn't like a artificial scenario. This is the president of the free world who has had a recurring issue with falling. We have empathy for the situation. It looks like he may have some medical complications that may play a factor into this. But more importantly than all of that, we as a collective are looking for a solution to a problem.
And thank you. Therein lies the issue. Therein lies the problem. 36,000 Americans will die this year as a result of a fall. Many of them are the elderly. The elderly are the most vulnerable. Well, he's older. He's an older gentleman. He's an older man. And he's an old guy who falls a lot, that also happens to have, the nuclear code. I mean, this is, whether you like him or not,
right?
We have to ensure the president of the United States is safe.
Yes.
And because of his past condition of falling, which many people his age suffer from, no disrespect to the president, we have to protect him. As they attempt to protect him, when I say they, I mean the handlers, they've made no impact. He's got comfortable shoes. They're stylish, but they're no different than the sneakers, the Skechers that he was wearing before.
Russ, how do you think problems get misdiagnosed and solutions are at such a scale? And what I mean by that is, this isn't like a small minor issue at some company or business that isn't top priority. This is the protection and safety of a world leader. How is there a misalignment of the problem and an improper solution for what you're really trying to fix?
It gets back to it always comes down to money, like everything in the world. So manufacturers of shoes really are not comfortable labeling the slip-resistant qualities of their shoes because most shoes, no surprise, are not made in this country. They're made in Asia, primarily China. And you know what the quality control of products that come from China are, Sean? Pretty shitty. And so if they put a number, they associate, in this case, a traction range to the shoe, there's a pretty good chance that the next batch that's coming out of the factory in China is probably going to have some different values because quality control is the problem. So rather than dealing with quality control performance of their products and labeling their products accordingly, like we see with other industries, the pharmaceutical industry, which, they have to have very tight tolerances. You can't just, the airline industry, you got to be, of course, that's probably not a good industry to talk about today as far as the safety record. But what it comes down to is liability. If they label their shoes and say it's high traction and a batch comes out and they're not, and somebody gets hurt, well, they now see it as liability. So all the lawyers that work for the big corporations whisper to the CEO, don't do this. This is not a good idea. We're going to get sued. And they don't want to get sued, and nobody wants to get sued. But it's all fear. But what you wind up facing is a population, predominantly the elderly, who are the most vulnerable, most likely victim of a fall, oftentimes associated with their footwear. And do you happen to know, this is a news flash, who died today as a result of a fall? We had a celebrity die literally hours ago as a result of a fall.
I do not.
You know what it is?
No.
Joe Lieberman.
Joe Lieberman passed?
Joe Lieberman died today.
From a fall?
From a fall.
Whoa. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Wow. What happened?
Don't know the details. His family said that he suffered a fall, don't know what type, and most likely struck his head, because that's what happens. And if you're older, that becomes a significantly bigger problem than when you're younger. So here we are in 2024, where the president of the United States is buying shoes that he thinks are better than what he's wearing, and they're really not. They might be comfortable and fashionable and have some benefit.
Sure.
But the slip-resistant quality of the sole, which is what they're trying to find, right? The whole reason they're changing his shoes.
Exactly. That's the whole focus of this.
The whole focus is so he doesn't slip, so we need more slip-resistant soles. Mm-hmm. They buy shoes that are no better or worse than what he had before. Yep. So what do you expect the outcome to be? Nothing. It's going to be the same outcome, right?
Yep.
And by the way, if you look at the Joe Lieberman, he was 82.
Wow.
About the same age as our president.
Wow. Rest in peace, Joe.
So there you go. That's kind of the problem that we face in this country when it comes to safety is manufacturers are more likely to ignore safety because of liability. Mm. And they don't want to address safety because they're afraid that they'll be sued. Meanwhile, people are dying.
Yeah.
Lawsuits are still happening.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we consider a solution, when I say we, I mean the National Floor Safety Institute, is to simply say to manufacturers of shoes, floor cleaning products, 11, I don't know if this is in our petition. We tested 17 of the most popular household floor cleaners. 17, Spick and Span, Swiffer,
awesome, all
that stuff.
Yeah,
17. And when you apply those products on a brand new clean floor, per the NFSI B101.7, is it .4? Confused my numbers. NFSI B101.2. Sorry, .2. That's the floor cleaner study standard. And when you put a floor cleaner on a brand new tile floor, and you simulate a month's worth of cleaning, meaning 4 applications. You mop it on, let it dry, mop the next layer on, let it dry. Do that 4 times. When you measure the slip resistance of that tile after simply mopping a conventional floor cleaner on it 4 times, you'll find that 11 of the 17 products made the floor more slippery.
Unbelievable.
Significantly.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so
this is a growing opinion I have with the more work that we look into this, Russ, and truly am thankful for all the work that you do at NFSI, because to me it's simple. Each and every one of us watching will take several steps today, tomorrow, and hopefully for many years to come. But every step also comes with a certain amount of risk, and it always requires some level of some surface and some article or footwear that you're wearing. So these, some of these stories that we've done recently really just shed a lot of light into the awareness and the science behind improving this whole relationship we have to traveling, moving, and, keeping safe.
Well, yeah, I mean, you used the right word, risk. The problem is the consumer has no knowledge, no ability to weigh the risk.
Yeah.
When you buy a floor, you don't know the risk associated with the floor.
No.
Manufacturers don't tell you. When you buy the cleaning product to clean the floor, you're totally unaware that the cleaning product actually makes the floor more slippery.
That blew my mind when,
right?
When you were covering.
I mean, you're not thinking the more I clean, the more dangerous my floor gets. You're not associating that.
Not at
and
all.
then when you're wearing shoes inside or outside of the house or hiking,
yeah,
you're totally unaware of just how slip resistant those soles are until you fall. I mean, that's the reality. And so in an effort to reduce risk, we believe that the consumer has a right to know when they're buying floor cleaning products and shoes. Just tell me what the risk is. I'll make a decision.
Yeah.
If I can buy a pair of shoes that are rated as high traction because I need it,
yeah,
well, just tell me. Yeah. If the shoes are labeled moderate traction, I still might buy them, but I understand and I assumed the risk. Right now, you don't know anything, and people are getting hurt. People are dying. I mean, you have Joe Lieberman died today from some consequence of a fall. And, it's got to stop. And so NFSI is leading the way. We're calling on our audience today, Sean, to join the effort.
Absolutely.
Interesting. I just looked at the numbers today. There's been, I forgot how many people submitted comments on the CPSC's website, but 7 times more people that were commenting were in support than were against. The ratio right now is 7-1 from public comments in support of the petition. And you can only imagine who the people who are opposed to it. The Wood Flooring Association. I mean, just ridiculous.
Yeah.
They actually stated in their comments that one of the problems, the Wood Floor Association, that's called the swamp.
Okay.
Lobbyists representing big corporations. Lobby the federal government, in this case, the CPSC. And one of the arguments they made, and anybody can read this, go on the CPSC's website, you can read all the comments. The Wood Flooring Association's message was, well, if we are forced to do this, meaning wood floor manufacturers, we're going to have to take up valuable retail floor space to put information about the safety of our products. And that would take floor space away from selling our product, meaning profits and sales are more important than safety. That's it. That's what the Wood Flooring Association said in opposing the petition. Sales are more important to us than safety. We don't care if the consumer is unaware of the slip-resistant quality of our product. It's more important that they buy it.
Yeah.
And shame on them. Shame on them. And it's about time that we as a country stand up for the most vulnerable amongst us. In this case, it's the elderly. And we look to protect people. And the way you protect people is by giving them information related to the risks associated with the products that they are purchasing. And to deny them that information, to me, is the problem. Therein lies the problem. Absolutely. So, anyhow, thanks for getting me all worked up today, Sean. Welcome back from Brazil, buddy.
Thank you. I know this episode covered, again, rest in peace to Joe Lieberman and his family. But I think this is incredibly important stuff that you're covering, Russ, in that you're right. There's a huge segment of our population who safety is always paramount, but we have to be giving a more critical lens to these recurring issues that compromise their safety and their livelihood, right? Which is falls. We've looked at the data. Older people fall more often, and these aren't just minor falls. These break bones, these end lives. So when we look into the deeper lens of what's happening, what are some of the root causes and some of the games that organizations play, it's scary. And it's becoming more clear to me, myself and we as individuals have an opportunity and, an ability to influence and change that, but we have to make our voices heard.
Yeah, and we have to stand up for what's right. And we have to protect, as I mentioned, the most vulnerable amongst us in our community, and that's the very, very young and the very, very old. And I understand the corporate risk management equation. When you go to Harvard Business School, you learn how to drive a big ship and don't run it aground. But that's all about reducing risk for the corporation, financial risk. And oftentimes it means just passing that risk along to the consumer, to the end user. But if you're consuming food that might have a health risk, don't you have a right to know that?
Absolutely.
You don't tell people, well,
Absolutely.
Hey, sorry about that. We're adding these chemicals to the soft drink, and it looks like it's probably going to blow your liver out in 10 years. But don't tell them because it tastes good and we make a lot of money. It's immoral. It's just immoral. And sadly to say, Sean, that's the world we live in, where large corporations have a very low give a shit factor. Yeah. And you know what? Sorry you fell. Have a nice day. And just one less old person on Social Security. That's how they see it. And you know what? That shit's got to stop.
It does. And what the example you just mentioned is fascinating, because you're right. That would never fly in any kind of food industry or food choice. But we eat anywhere from 1 to 4x meals a day. And it's kind of a once in a, in the moment thing. But if you buy a pair of shoes or a floor, that's something with susceptible risk every single day, over and over and over.
And our next episode, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the Processed foods. You and I like talking about processed foods. So we're going to actually have a discussion about processed foods. But anyhow, let's get out of this segment. Appreciate you being back in Estados Unidos.
Estados Unidos, baby.
And
we're back. It's good to be back with you, Russ. Missed you, and let's do it.